Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into something pretty relevant once you start seeing real progress.
Right. Managing success itself.
Exactly. You, our listener, you're likely thinking about this. Being someone who's actively learning, growing, it's not just the climb, is it?
No, it's about what happens at the summit. And maybe the way down, too.
And our guide for this exploration, we're using excerpts from this interesting text.
Yeah, it's just called 10.pdf. Pretty straightforward title.
So that's our foundation for today's deep dive.
And you might think reaching a big goal means you can finally, breathe out, relax.
Yeah, that's the common image.
But what we often find, and what the text suggests, is that staying up there, maintaining that success, actually needs a new set of skills, maybe even trickier ones.
So our mission then is to figure out how to manage ourselves after we hit that mark.
Exactly. Using history, using some pretty timeless wisdom from this source.
And that's the real tension here, is that we see success as the finish line.
Right, where the hard work stops.
But maybe it's not. Maybe it's more like reaching a base camp high up a mountain. Great achievement, sure.
But navigating from there brings its own huge challenges, maybe even bigger ones, making sure you don't slide back.
And 10.pdf seems to tackle that directly. It says the idea that things get simpler, that gets replaced fast.
Yeah, replaced by more complexity and this critical need for self-management.
It's really about the internal stuff then.
Seems like it right from the start. The text says what you found is that you must manage yourself in order to maintain your success.
So it's not just external factors like the market or competitors.
No, it's deeply about your own, your internal state after you get there. So for you listening, think about that. What new internal demands came up with your successes?
That really lands. And there's that quote they use from Anne Lamott. It really underlines this. Personal responsibility.
Oh, yeah. Which one?
The evidence is in, and you are the verdict.
Wow. Yeah, that's direct, like looking in a mirror.
Right. Once you've succeeded, what happens next is, well, it's on you, no pointing fingers.
That sets the scene perfectly, doesn't it? For looking at how different people in history handled that exact moment.
And the first big example they bring up is Alexander the Great.
Ah, yes. Someone who had, phenomenal success by any measure.
Huge success, but also kind of a warning.
A cautionary tale, definitely.
Conquering empires by his early 30s seems unstoppable.
But then, as the text points out, dead at 32.
Far from home, and maybe even killed by his own men.
It's suggested, yeah.
Well,
and the text links this downfall, interestingly, to him not listening to his tutor.
Aristotle, right?
Exactly, failing to really take Aristotle's wisdom on board.
So the text isn't saying ambition itself was the problem.
No, not necessarily. The key thing was his inability, it seems, to internalize Aristotle's big idea. The golden mean.
The balance.
Right. And if you connect that to, your own situation, listening to this, it shows how even good traits like ambition can hurt you if they go too extreme.
Okay, let's unpack that golden mean a bit more. Aristotle's idea that virtue is like the middle path.
Yeah, finding a balance between two extremes. Not too much, not too little.
Like courage, it's not being reckless, but it's also not being a coward. It's somewhere in between.
Precisely. The text uses courage and also generosity as examples. You don't want to be wasteful, but you also don't want to be, stingy.
Find the middle.
Find the middle. But the crucial part, what Aristotle really stressed, is that finding that midpoint, it's not easy. It's not obvious.
Oh, okay.
He's quoted in the text saying, in each case, it is hard work to find the intermediate. For instance, not everyone, but only one who knows, finds the midpoint in a circle.
Okay, wow. So it takes real wisdom, real insight.
Yeah.
It's not just splitting the difference 50-50.
Not at all. Requires understanding.
And the text applies this to ambition really well, I thought.
How so?
It says, look, unchecked ambition is simple. Just go harder, more.
Right. Full steam ahead.
And complacency is simple, too. Just stop trying. Ease off.
Also easy. The path of least resistance, maybe?
But the real challenge, the virtue, is finding that sweet spot, that sustainable level of drive.
That's the hard work Aristotle was talking about.
So for you listening, thinking about your own wins, where might you be leaning too far one way, pushing too hard here, maybe neglecting something else?
That raises a really vital question, doesn't it? How do you calibrate that drive once you've hit a big goal?
Do you just keep pushing like mad? Risk burnout, maybe damage relationships?
Or do ease off too much, lose your edge, lose momentum.
Tricky balance.
It is. And the text brings in Jim Collins here, the business author.
Good to great, built to last.
Yeah. He talks about avoiding the Undisciplined Pursuit of More.
Ah, okay. What does that mean exactly?
It's where the original focus, the strategy that got you there, gets lost because you're just chasing, well, more, bigger, faster, whatever, often with bad results.
Which links right back to that idea of unchecked ego after success, doesn't he?
Perfectly. It's a classic pitfall.
And it's not just about how hard we push, but the quality, the focus.
Right. There's another Aristotle quote in there about applying, let me see, the right amount of pressure at the right time, in the right way, for the right period of time, in the right car, going in the right direction.
Aha.
That's a lot to juggle.
It is. It really shows that managing success isn't just about more effort. It's about smarter effort.
And way more self-awareness, knowing when, where, how much.
Absolutely. And if you don't find that balance, well, the consequences can be pretty severe.
Which brings us to the next example they use, Napoleon.
Ah, Napoleon, another figure with just immense power, incredible fame.
But, like Alexander, ultimately, not a happy ending.
No, a deeply unhappy one, according to the text.
He had that quote, didn't he? Something like, "Men of great ambition have sought happiness."
And have found fame, yeah. It's quite a tragic line, really.
It suggests the goal was maybe happiness or fulfillment.
But the chase, the ego-driven pursuit, leads somewhere else entirely. Maybe you get the fame, the recognition.
But inside, there's a void.
And even that external stuff, the fame, the impact.
Yeah.
How long does it last? That's what's striking. The text uses Emerson's perspective on Napoleon.
Right. What did Emerson say?
That just a few years after Napoleon died, Europe basically snapped back to how it was before.
All that effort, all that war and upheaval.
For surprisingly little lasting change in the grand scheme of things. Emerson's line was, Napoleon quickly faded away, just like the smoke from his artillery.
Wow. That's a powerful image. Puts things in perspective.
It really does. Makes you question what impact even means, you know?
And what truly matters in the end.
Which leads smoothly into the next character study, Howard Hughes.
Ah, Hughes. Often romanticized, isn't he? The innovator, the billionaire, the maverick.
Almost mythical.
Yeah.
The ultimate success story in some ways.
But the text shares this. Well, this anecdote that paints a very different picture. His inner world.
Yeah, near the end of his life, apparently. His aide is trying to, cheer him up.
Saying what an amazing life he'd had.
Something like that, yeah. Incredible life.
Yeah.
But Hughes's reply, it's chilling.
What did he say?
He apparently said, if you had ever swapped places in life with me, I would be willing to bet that you would have demanded to swap back before the passage of the first week.
Whoa, that's heavy.
Right. So the takeaway isn't just, money can't buy happiness. It's more profound.
It's that a singular focus on that external stuff, the success, the achievement, can actually corrode your inner well-being.
Exactly. It actively works against it. A powerful reminder to balance the external wins with, inner peace or fulfillment, maybe.
What really hits you about that story, that gap between the outside view and the inside reality?
For me, it's the isolation, the deep, deep loneliness implied there. Someone who seemed to have everything.
Felt like he had nothing worth keeping, essentially.
Yeah, it forces you to ask, what is real success? What's a truly good life beyond just the headlines?
It really does. Okay, so having looked at these big examples, huge success followed by, struggles.
Or outright misery.
Right. The text then shifts, quite helpfully, to practical steps. Things we can do to avoid those kinds of pitfalls.
Which is good.
Yeah.
We need some actionable advice after those stories.
Definitely. It lists key decisions to make, choices to avoid what it calls an ignominious, even pathetic end. Ouch.
Pretty blunt. But what are they?
Okay, it lists protecting sobriety.
Makes sense. Pressure can lead there.
Eschewing greed and paranoia.
Also common traps with power and success.
Staying humble.
The counter to ego.
Retaining a sense of purpose.
Keeping perspective.
And connecting to the larger world around us.
Not getting isolated, like Hughes perhaps. It's almost like a checklist for staying grounded.
And it's important to see these aren't just nice ideas. They directly counteract the specific forces that derail successful people.
How so?
Well, like you said, unchecked ambition easily slides into greed. The pressure cooker of maintaining success breeds paranoia. Humility is the antidote to that runaway ego.
And purpose, connection.
Mm-hmm.
They keep you anchored. Stop you floating off into your own little world.
Exactly. It gives you something bigger than just yourself, your own success.
Okay, that's helpful. But then, the text throws a curveball.
Ah, yes. The slightly sobering part.
It says, basically, even if we do all that right, even if we manage ourselves perfectly, There are no guarantees.
Right. Prosperity holds no guarantees.
The world conspires against us in many ways, and the laws of nature say that everything regresses toward the mean.
That's a really key concept, regression to the mean.
Explain that a bit more. What does that mean in practice?
It's this natural tendency for things that are extreme, unusually good or unusually bad to move back towards the average over time.
Like if you're on an incredible hot streak, it probably won't last forever.
Exactly. Or if a sports team has a ridiculously dominant season, the next season tends to be, well, closer to average. Things pull back towards the middle.
And the text gives sports examples, right? Like tougher schedules for winning teams.
Yeah, or draft picks going to worse teams, salary caps making it hard to keep superstars together, forces that actively work against sustained dominance.
Makes sense. And it happens in life, too,
Yeah.
outside of sports.
Absolutely. The text mentions things like, as you get more successful financially, well, your taxes often go up.
Right. More obligations.
More societal expectations.
Yeah.
Maybe more media scrutiny, which isn't always positive.
Gossip, rumors.
Yeah, and even just that psychological thing where people start rooting for the underdog against the established winner.
So these aren't necessarily failures on our part. They're just baked into the system.
Kind of. Facts of life, as the text puts it.
Yeah.
Natural forces at play.
So what's the advice then? Just accept defeat.
No, not at all. The crucial thing is to avoid denial. Don't pretend these forces don't exist or that you're somehow special and immune.
Okay, so acknowledge the reality.
Acknowledge it and then proactively prepare. Prepare for those shifts of fate that inevitably occur.
Which include tough times, difficulty, even failure.
Yes, adversity, setbacks, they happen.
That's a big mental shift, isn't it? Away from success as permanent to something more like cycles.
Exactly. Seeing it as cyclical, preparing for downturns. And the text even points out sometimes we cause our own downturns. By getting complacent, maybe, or sticking with old strategies too long. It warns that just because you succeeded before doesn't mean you automatically will again. Past performance is no guarantee.
Of future results.
Right.
Classic disclaimer.
But it applies here. So you need ongoing self-assessment, willingness to change, to adapt.
So don't see reversals as total disasters.
Maybe see them more as a natural part of the rhythm, part of the cycle. That can actually make it easier to navigate them when they do happen.
Okay. So wrapping this deep dive up, the core message seems to be getting success is one thing.
But holding on to it, managing yourself through it, that's the real long game.
It's that ongoing work. Managing ourselves, finding that balance and the golden mean again.
Striving for it, yeah. And understanding these forces like regression to the mean that are always kind of pulling things back.
Avoiding the extremes Napoleon and maybe Alexander fell into.
Right. The unchecked ego, but also the opposite, like complacency.
True mastery, then, isn't just the win. It's the continuous work afterwards.
Self-awareness, adaptation, preparing for what might come next, internally and externally. That ongoing process.
Okay, so on that note, maybe a final thought for everyone listening to chew on.
Go for it.
Given everything we've talked about, these historical patterns, this natural tendency for things to regress, what specific proactive steps can you, the listener, take starting today to prepare for those potential headwinds, the challenges that might be coming down the road in your own work, your own life?
It's not about being negative.
No, not at all. It's about being realistic, being prepared. Taking ownership of the whole journey, not just the peak. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.